What's happening, everyone? It's been a couple weeks since I recorded my last video, but um, I mentioned that I was getting back into the game, and I would say that's true. I've been pretty consistent with playing and making relative gains. Um, AFKing 99% of the time, but that's all I can really give to the game these days, um, which is fine. That's the best part about RuneScape is even if you can't be totally attentive, you can find ways to progress and get that sweet, sweet hit of EXP uh, through AFK means. And yeah, so I just started star mining a little bit because I that's what I've been predominantly doing on my group Ironman with my brother. 84 mining now, it's honestly pretty sweet. I like it a lot. And in pay to play, especially for an Ironman, the gems that you get from it will be nice for crafting, and yeah, it's just a good AFK activity, I find. So I was doing a lot of splashing on Daga, and I dabbled with a little bit of strength at flesh crawlers. I don't know why I lost motivation to do range. I don't think it's any different, but anyway, so I did about 1.5 mil experience at flesh crawlers in strength, and that wasn't too bad, but flesh crawlers isn't the best AFK for me. Um, I find that it's a lot nicer and less stressful for me to be doing something where I don't have to move around and like I just come back and click. I know that sounds, but it's just what I enjoy more, right? I have less motivation when I'm doing something AFK that I have to be a little more engaged and right, like it's better just to open up the window, click again, and close it rather than have to re-aggro or go bank for food or whatever it might be. Um, and that's a lie. I wasn't doing flesh crawlers. I was doing spiders, so that's what I was AFKing. But yeah, I have a lot of death runes now, as I mentioned in the last ramble. I saw the price of death in natures and just splurged and bought a bunch. So the magic experience has actually been creeping up decently because fire blast splashing is not a good bad experience. It's pretty solid to be honest. So whenever I really, really need to AFK, I'll just hit the Chronicle teleport, pop the armor on, and get a decent splash session in. So, um, other than that, I haven't really crafted much, maybe a little bit, but again, I don't really have virtually any time to be playing. But and if I do, I like to play on my group Ironman these days for do a farm run, like a full farm run, get a couple quests done or whatever, right? Right now I'm content AFKing on Daga, but my mind's starting to wander a little bit, as it always does. I actually, a couple days ago, made my one defense peer a member and super excited to like max it and PK on it, and I don't know. It's classic me though. I from even before old school RuneScape, like on all RuneScape, I'll have my main accounts, but then start to lose motivation and burn out, and then I see an account build, or I'll think of an account build, and I'll be like, yeah, that'd be so sick to have a max one defense peer, or that'd be so sick to have a 10 HP, 99 range, 99 mage, 99 slayer account, or I even have a video. I had a level 3 hardcore skiller pay to play, and I have so many different accounts that are just slightly progressed, and yeah, and you know what, at times I kind of get annoyed by it, or I used to at least, but I always thought of it as well, like it normally happens when I start to lose motivation for my primary accounts. You know, it's always been Daga, and then I have my pay-to-play regular, and then I used to play just a regular Iron Man, and that account's pretty progressed. Um, but when I'd start to lose motivation for those accounts, then my mind would wander, and I'd dabble quickly in something else, be motivated, and then it would keep me playing. Especially when I played a lot of RuneScape, and that was kind of my primary goal in life, was to make gains when I was younger and lost and didn't know what I was doing. So yeah, it would keep me in the game, and then I would be motivated for a couple days or longer, and then start to realize, like, what am I doing? I should be investing my time, energy, and focus into my real accounts. And so it would never last long, and yeah, maybe I'd lose a bond, or I rarely have ever used bonds for membership, but $15, but in my mind it's worth it. It keeps me on track. It's a little bit of a wake-up call that, you know, and then I gain more motivation, and I start to rekindle my motivation for my main accounts. You know, I start to realize, like, why am I, like I was saying, I made my one defense pure a member, and I was like stoked for it for like a couple days. Like, it lasted very briefly, and then I was like, you know, I'm on Dagmore right now. I was like, why don't I just work to max Dagmore? He's kind of close. It'd be sweet to have a max cape one day. Not that I think I will, like I always say these things, but you know, no, I'm playing on him rather than spending money and time and energy on an account. But anyways, that account's purpose was always just to attack at Castle Wars. I've done a lot of Castle Wars, just training ranged on Daga. It has one defense, right? And then, you know, slowly, you know, it's not even too bad. It's got like 92 range. Anyways, yeah. So that's that. That's a little blip and blurb in the last couple of days, but it's kind of shifted my mind back to the real world, and it's also kind of made me want to, because I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to play some actual RuneScape to progress that account. You know, I can't AFK every skill. And I was like, well, if I'm not gonna AFK, if I'm gonna like actually make an effort to play the game, why don't I, you know, work towards max on Daga, or like play my group Iron Man that I enjoy a lot? Like, why am I trying to quest and do all this random bullshit on an account that I'm gonna burn out, that I've already started to burn out on? So anyways, yeah, we'll see where my mind takes me in the near future, what I begin to do. But as of now, it's predominantly I've just played Daga and my group Iron Man, done a lot of AFK, but yeah, it's always changing. Things are always yeah, my mind is never constant, especially when it comes to the game, and that's okay. That's one thing I've started to embrace recently, even just in life and work and everything. I'm somewhat of a crazy person, you know. I don't want to be insensitive. I'm not mentally disturbed or actually insane, but I've always kind of struggled with my mind just going everywhere and, you know, never stopping. You know, yeah, I'm very all over the place sometimes, but at the same time, I'm very reserved and calm. But internally, anyway, I'm not trying to. It's a positive thing that I'm talking about right now. I've been very accepting of that recently, because I've started to realize, like, it's kind of nice sometimes if you just don't beat yourself up about it, and you embrace it, and you're like, yeah, fuck, I'm all over the place, but you just still get stuff done. You're a little bit chaotic at times. I'm not saying I'm a chaotic person, though. I think that I'm very calculated and reserved, and on the surface very calm, but I have this internal dialogue and struggle of like beating myself up. You know, you need to be more. But why? Like, for what? You know, I think that's something that I've reflected on a lot recently. It's just you're so, um, let me know too. Like, I don't know. I find that I talk a lot about things that aren't related to RuneScape. I try to start off and talk about what I've been doing and everything, and then I just totally veer off into a philosophical or psychological topic that I'm totally uneducated on. You know, I have no education in these fields, and I watch videos of doctors and psychologists and really intelligent individuals, you know, podcasts and interviews, and listen to audiobooks and read books. So I ingest information, but I'm by no means an expert. So anyway, so that kind of relates to what I was just talking about. I'm just going to keep going, but you know, sometimes I feel bad. Like, you know, this is a RuneScape account, RuneScape channel, and I just kind of like use it as a way to get my thoughts out, and maybe that's selfish, but whatever. It is my channel. So I'll continue on my train of thought. Something that I've reflected on recently is I ingest so much information. Like I think I'm overstimulated a lot of the time. It kind of relates to what I was just talking about the chaos. Like, I don't really like to be still or have my mind by itself, so to speak. So I listen to a lot of different things. Like, usually I try to make it productive and beneficial, learn. Um, but what I'm trying to say is, I've been thinking about it a lot recently, and it's something that I don't think a lot of people are mindful of, and I definitely am not a lot of the time. But your mind can be persuaded so easily by your references in life, and there's a lot of common sayings about the people you spend the time around. Maybe the 5 people you spend the most time around is who you'll be like. And then I also think that it's just as true for what you surround yourself with, whether that be music, whether that be TV, whether that be, yeah, like for me, for example, all these podcasts and interviews and audiobooks that I listen to, um, it really sets a reference point in your mind, and it really does. Like, I don't want to use the word brainwash or anything extreme, but if you're listening to a lot of, if you're listening to some certain kind of, I don't know how to articulate what I want to say, but just like this direction of thinking, right? You know, there's so many different ways and so many different people in this world, right? But you can kind of go down a rabbit hole, and then you get recommended videos, and you could, yeah, and it could be positive for sure, right? Like, it could be very intelligent individuals talking about philosophy and psychology and helping you understand the mind and brain better and whatever, and that's great. Um, but I also don't think, like, I think that that realm of life is so um I don't know, it's very touchy. I don't, that's a bad word. It's a pretty corny word to use, but what am I trying to say here? It's just, when you're talking about the brain and the mind, it's not, a lot of the studies I find, and like I said, I'm not educated, so if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I just, in my mind, it's way less apparent than, you know, studying the physical world, right? When you're talking about the way the mind works and the way the brain works, and just, you know, everything about life and perceiving it, and your mental, it's it's a lot of opinion sometimes, I feel like. And there's definitely clinical research, and I'm not disregarding that. I'm just saying that, you know, it's like mindset. And I read a book once called The Expectation Effect, and it just talked about a lot of examples of case studies and legitimate research on telling people certain things, and then, you know, the brain manifesting it and making it a reality, right? You know, you take a pill and they say it'll relieve these symptoms or it'll cause these symptoms. So when you start to expect something, and you really, you know, your body starts to prepare and almost make it a reality, right? So it's crazy how the mind and body work in tandem. And anyways, this is not really what I'm trying to talk about. I guess what I just wanted to allude to is that you can really start to shift your mind depending on what you're listening to and what you're surrounded by. So even if it's something that you like, I'm just talking about myself now, so I don't want anybody to think I'm like trying to like tell you that this is how it is. But I started to realize like even though I've been listening to a lot of information and ingesting a lot of information, I would deem intelligent. Um, I'm not listening to some stupid stuff. Like these are people who have PhDs. These are people who are uh, extremely successful and uh, top in their fields. And so at a glance or at the surface, you would just assume that this is only going to benefit you by listening to it and just surrounding yourself with this. But it truly does depend. Like it depends what you. I think that's something people really need to do is reflect on like who do they really want to be and what do they really want to think, because maybe I'm trying to sound a little crazy here, but it doesn't really, like, you will start to think that way. You will start to behave and believe a lot of these things that these people talk about. But I think that's so cool too, um, because you can kind of use that if you understand it to surround yourself with something that complements you. So I guess let me wrap this up by talking. So I was talking about how I'm a crazy person, and I started to just embrace the fact that you know, I like probably contradicting myself because I talk a lot about structure and habit, and that is very important for me. But in different ways, I'm all over the place. I think just my mind is at least. And yeah, I used to think of it as negative, but then I just happened to fall upon this one individual that I watched a couple videos on, and he started to talk positively about himself and the way he works, and you know, because it's so common, successful, like, you got to be super structured and rigid and go to bed really early and wake up really early, and like, I started to worry too because I don't sleep a lot. Like I sleep very little, and anyways, like, and then I like it kind of hyped me up because like, somebody who is really successful is talking about an unorthodox way of being that's benefited them, and they've become very successful and gone very far and done a lot of great things being that way. And then it just made me realize, like, you know wherever my mind is, like, you know I really don't feel like I'm doing a great job of explaining what I'm trying to say, but I guess you have a lot of control over your perception and your mental, and it doesn't feel that way all the time. Believe me, I understand. I felt out of control many times, but um, accepting who you are, accepting your strengths, and then finding a way to paint that and view it as positive. Because I don't think there's any really like right or wrong way to be, right? You have to understand who you are and what works best for you, and then find people and information that is positive in that way, right? Or just try to do that yourself too, right? Because, and of course I don't think that you should just like be like, yeah, like I I don't know, like there is negative things that are a little more negative and less productive and less beneficial for you. So I don't know. I'm not even saying you should, like, this is just me. Like, you can't take everything so literally, and you can't, like, I know that I need to still be critical and not just accept anything and everything, but um that got a little crazy there. I hope that a little bit of sense was made, but um yeah, just recently I've kind of felt some relief and clarity in an odd way. Just, yeah, kind of being more accepting of how I am and the way I operate. And then it made me like, yeah, come to like almost an epiphany that, you know, I I sometimes take people that I look up to or aspire to be like, or at least accomplish similar things that they have, right? Like you, let me use just like the broadest example ever. You watch a video on someone extremely successful, an interview of say someone like Elon Musk or something, and then you start to be like, okay, well I need to have these characteristics or tendencies, but um, if that isn't like if you don't really like look at, I don't know. I think that I might start to uh, veer away from this topic. I don't really, I don't really know how to articulate what I want to say here, but um, I mean, let me take a moment here to gather some thoughts. Um, yeah, I just want to say that I don't necessarily believe that you need to accept everything. Like there's negative tendencies, qualities, and traits that everybody has, but I also think that people can get pretty, at least myself, I can get pretty stuck, fixated on things that I want to do, and then I think that I need to change myself and be a different way that will never really work because that's not who I am or how I am. Um, but it can be pretty discreet how it enters your mind and just total being where you start to try to shift and then there's a sense of guilt when you're not doing it completely. Whereas I think accepting your quirks and your differences, I think there needs to be, at least for me, a divide between the external results and image, and then the internal strategy and application, right? Because I think that there's many different paths you can take to a destination. And then with the way the world is now, there's so much information at our fingertips. Um, and everybody takes a different path, and everybody is different. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see if I can muster up some more incoherent dialogue about this. But I think I'll leave it at that. It's just, I kind of transitioned from RuneScape, right? It's like, I don't care, like whatever. There's people who've only ever played one account and they just progress one account, and I admire that, and I want to be like that, and I've thought about it, and I've kind of tried to force myself that, but it's like, it's not what I want. It's not, I don't enjoy the game as much when I'm doing that, and I just don't even have the capacity to do that. Like I wish I could just be like super motivated and only ever play Daga and not care. But it's like, I kind of burn out, and then I want to make a new account, and I have all these other accounts, and I still play Daga, and I still have other accounts that are like my mains, but rather than beating myself up about it, comparing myself to other people who are just totally dedicated to one account and able to do that, like whatever, like I I start to realize, you gotta paint things in a way, like if they're not completely toxic and bringing you down, like, I'm not too stressed out about spending $15 on a month of membership for an account I didn't play, because it kind of shifted my mind and got me back on track. And at the end of the day, like, what am I going to do about it? Force myself to play the account and lose focus and energy and not enjoy it. And then that transitions into like much more complex and real life aspects, right? If you're not totally living up to an expectation that you've set, but those expectations were created externally from observing other people or trying to be like someone that you admire, that you want, that accomplish something that you'd like to accomplish, but then I don't think it has a positive effect to um, feel negatively about not completely emulating or taking the same path. I think that those things are separate and need to be separated to a certain degree. Not literally though, like not always, and it, like balance is always super important. But I think that that's what I'm trying to say is that I've come full circle in life, and I'm starting to embrace things that I used to paint and view as negative. But then of course they will be negative. I think that's what I was trying to say too when I was talking about the mind and the brain, how powerful it is with just setting the stage for your life. I think that um, yeah, like you'll manifest. I'm not trying to like I'm just saying literally I genuinely believe it to a certain degree that you'll start to manifest a reality depending on how you think and what you uh, what you tell yourself. And it's one interview I was listening to recently. It's like nuclear, right? Like there's so many positive potentials with nuclear energy and like nuclear fission, and but of course we've seen the extreme negative side of it as well, right? Like it's a balancing act where you can't be delusional, you can't trick yourself that things that you're doing that are bad and you know are good, but you also can't just um, totally neglect yourself and dismiss yourself at the same time, right? At least the individual I was watching was arguing that if we don't take advantage of nuclear, that's a mistake because of just how powerful. And I don't understand it very well, so don't think I'm trying to educate anybody on nuclear science. Like I don't know anything about it, but um, right, it's just a good analogy for me right now that if you need to have mindfulness and there needs to be balance. You can go too far for sure and cause damage and have negative effects. But I think that if you don't uh, utilize it in the proper way, it'll also have a negative effect, right? Anyways, let's stop being so like I'm gonna stop being so crazy about it. It's 27 minutes. I've been getting a lot of tattoos lately, so I've got an appointment booked soon. Got the last couple of days, so I need to get ready, get out of here. So I'll wrap this up, but yeah, I think that it's been a good last little while for me. Just being mindful and just starting to embrace who I am and what I do, and really using it to my advantage. Things that I used to view negatively and would bring me down and I beat myself up over. It's like fuck it, it is what it is. Like you still need to be mindful and considerate of changing yourself to a certain degree and growing, but grow like I don't know. I'm trying to think of some nice term to explain it, but like set yourself up for success. Holy smokes, set yourself up for success. Um, allow yourself to grow. Like if you plant, I'm sure there's like the rose that can grow in concrete, but if you plant yourself in something that doesn't have any nutrients or whatever, you're not going to grow, right? So like you gotta know like what you need and who you are, and then whatever. Anyways, that's not what I'm not trying to get poetic about it. Um, that was definitely a ramble. We'll see if I even upload this one. I'm about to head out, so I won't upload it right this second. But um, yeah, hope everybody's doing well. Uh, I hope that I can. I don't know. I just never film any clips, but I hope that I can maybe just like make more RuneScape related videos. Unless y'all enjoy me talking about like complete nonsense and like getting totally out of this world being a space cadet. Um, I enjoy it, and at the end of the day, I do it for myself. Like, I'm not some big YouTuber or anything, so it doesn't really like it's my channel. I'll do what I want, but I love the game. I love RuneScape. I want to make more sort of progress videos, and I just don't play the game enough or do anything exciting. It's like, what do I pop up like a 1 minute clip of me splash and be like, yeah, gained 2 mil magic experience splash, and yeah, gained 100k mining experience star mining. All right, catch you guys in the next one. Anyways, okay. I'm gonna wrap it up. I hope y'all are doing well. Keep making them games, IRL and in game. Take care of yourself. Embrace yourself, all your differences and quirks, and continue to grow. Though, like, don't. I'm not trying to like be like corny here and tell you to like embrace it. Like, if you're doing some whack shit, like stop it and become better. But yeah, just don't beat yourself up over your differences. You know, you need to have big goals and big dreams, and you need to take care of yourself and be healthy. And you know, like, I'm not arguing that like you need to embrace shitty aspects. Like, you know, you're like, oh, I just want to eat pizza all day. Like, I need to embrace it. Oh, I just want to like be unemployed and not contribute anything to society. And you know, I just want to be like a total degenerate and like have no ambition. And like, that's not what I'm saying. Like, don't embrace that, but embrace like differences and qualities of yourself that like still are a part of the journey of getting there, right? Like, you don't need to completely be a certain way to get somewhere. I think there's many different ways to find fulfillment, happiness, success in life, and in the game too, right? You know, one last little thing is like, you know, it was a huge thing in the high level skilling community back in the day. Like, you couldn't skill hop, or you'd be like shamed. Like, you had to do a skill straight to 200 mil, and then you. But like, fuck, like that makes no sense. Like, if you want to play the game, play a little bit of this skill, play a little bit of that skill, and then in the end you make gains. Fuck it, like, that's gains. Like, who cares? Like, you don't gotta go straight to 200 mil. If you want like a top page rank, yeah, for sure. Like, it depends on what your goal is. But if you're just trying to play the game and make gains, you know. Anyways, so I'm gonna leave it at that. Thanks for listening. If you made it this far, like, wouldn't expect it, but we'll see when I hop on the recording next. And yeah, take care, and yeah, keep making them gains. Talk soon. Bye.